Madballs.
Madballs, madballs, gross for one, gross for all.
How did one of the grossest toys ever made take over playgrounds across America and then disappear almost as fast as it arrived? In the mid-1980s, toy aisles were packed with larger-than-life heroes, vehicles, and entire worlds built around cartoons. But right in the middle of all that, something completely different broke through. It wasn't heroic, polished, or even meant to look good. It was disgusting, and kids could not get enough of it. But the same thing that made Madballs a massive hit also led directly to their downfall. So what made these grotesque toys so popular, and why did they burn out so quickly? Well, the answer starts in a place no one would ever expect. Madballs didn't come from a company known for being edgy. They came from American Greetings, a company famous for soft, friendly, and wholesome characters. The same creative team behind some of the most lovable icons of the decade was now trying to reach a completely different audience. They had already mastered cute, but they wanted to capture the other side of the playground. The side that, shall we just say, wasn't so sweet, but messy, chaotic, and rebellious. And at the same time, pop culture was shifting. Gross-out humor was exploding in popularity, especially with kids.
I don't know.
Trading cards, comics, and cartoons were leaning into exaggerated, messy, and sometimes shocking designs that pushed against what adults considered acceptable. Kids loved it, of course, and that gave the team an idea. What if they took that energy and turned it into something physical, something kids could hold, throw, and play with? Now, the result was simple but oh so powerful. A ball, but not a normal ball. Each Madball was designed as a grotesque face, filled with bulging eyes, sharp teeth, and twisted expressions. They weren't meant to look nice, they were meant to stand out. And when they hit stores in 1986, that's exactly what they did. Kids noticed them immediately. They picked them up, played with them, and didn't want to put them down. Because they weren't just collectibles, they were interactive. You could bounce them, throw them, trade them, and show them off. They were affordable, easy to get, and once kids had one, it didn't take long before they wanted more. And within a short time, Madballs were everywhere. Backpacks, playgrounds, and even classrooms. And that's when things started to change. Because while kids saw something fun and exciting, adults saw something very different. Parents found them disturbing. Teachers found them disruptive. And what kids thought was funny, adults thought was inappropriate. And the problem wasn't just how they looked, it was how they were used. These weren't passive toys, they were meant to be thrown. And in classrooms, of course, that quickly becomes a problem. Reports of students getting hit, lessons being interrupted, and growing frustration from teachers led to a wave of action, and schools began banning them. But instead of killing the trend, the bans did something unexpected. They made the toys even more appealing. For kids, anything that got taken away instantly became more valuable. Madballs weren't just toys anymore, they were forbidden, something you weren't supposed to have, and that gave them a new kind of power. So the controversy didn't slow them down, it fueled them. Sales increased, demand grew, and the brand expanded rapidly. New versions were released, different sizes were introduced, and new ideas were added to keep the line growing.
And now, Super Plays of the Week, starring the craziest sports balls of the world, Super Madballs. In football, someone slips a Super Madball into the game, centers it to the quarterback, who freaks out and fumbles. In other action, look at this catch. In basketball, the Super Madball really puts on some super moves. And in soccer, everyone gets a kick out of the Super Madball.
For a moment, it felt unstoppable. But underneath that success, there was a problem building. Because while other major toy lines were creating entire worlds through cartoons and ongoing stories, Madballs didn't have that same support. Biggest brands of the time weren't just toys, they were stories kids could follow every day. Characters developed, worlds expanded, and new ideas kept things fresh. Madballs didn't have that foundation. There were attempts to expand the brand with animated content and other media, but nothing consistent enough to keep kids engaged long-term.
Hands up!
Madball, Madball.
Welcome to the wacky world of Madball action figures, a world of good guys.
Attack, Skullface! Get him, this brain! Up with the head, Archosaurus!
Defend yourself, Slobulus. Gotcha, Screaming Mimi.
And bad guys.
And without that deeper connection, something was just missing. And at the same time, the market itself was moving forward. New toys were arriving, new trends were taking over, and attention spans were shifting faster than ever. What felt new one year could feel old the next. Madballs were built around one key idea: shock value. And at first, it worked perfectly. But shock doesn't last forever. Once kids got used to the designs, the surprise started to fade. The impact wasn't as strong, and without something new to replace that excitement, interest just began to drop. And then came another problem. The market became crowded. Other companies saw the success and started releasing similar products. Cheaper versions, knockoffs, and competing designs flooded the shelves, and that made it harder for Madballs to stand out. What once felt unique now felt replaceable. But the most interesting shift came from something else entirely. The controversy itself began to fade.
Catch 'em, smash 'em. You'll want to collect all the Madballs, including the new 6 series. Just squeeze them till they ooze. They're repulsive.
Totally gross. Cool. Sick.
At first, the bans and reactions made the toys exciting, but once they were removed from schools and became less of an issue, that edge just kind of disappeared. They were no longer something kids had to sneak in or hide, and without the sense of rebellion, something important was lost. Because part of what made Madballs special wasn't just how they looked, it was how people reacted to them.
New Madballs are so obnoxious and weird, they'll gross out the entire family.
The attention, the shock, the feeling that they weren't supposed to be there. Once that disappeared, the experience changed, and that's when the decline sped up. Sales slowed, interest dropped, and within just a few years, the line was gone. What had once been impossible to find was now easy to ignore. The brand faded, the shelves cleared, and the craze ended. But even though the toys disappeared, the memory didn't. For the kids who had them, the experience stayed. The designs, the reactions, and the feeling of holding something completely different stuck with them. Over time, that memory turned into nostalgia. Collectors began searching for them again. Fans remembered what made them stand out, and slowly the brand started to return. New versions were released, updated designs were introduced, and attempts were made to bring them back for a new generation.
Pass the ball, kid! He's just warming up.
Scream and medium oculars. So helpful.
Oh, too cute! I'm allergic to cute.
And even now, the core idea still works. It's simple, bold, and completely different. And that's what made Madballs successful in the first place. So what caused their rise and fall? Well, their rise came from doing something different at exactly the right time. Their fall came from relying too much on that difference without evolving. But their legacy didn't disappear, because some toys aren't remembered for how long they lasted, they're remembered for how much attention they demanded. And for a brief moment, Madballs didn't just get attention, they took over.